Hey, what's up? It's B the Installer. We're here today to install a 55-inch Samsung 7100. Customer got a little excited, unboxed the TV already, hooked up the Roku, got the mount open, so we're going to put it all together for him and help him out. So here we go. First step is we're going to flip the TV around and we're going to go ahead and put the bracket on. So we'll go ahead and get this spun around so we can see what we're doing. So while we get the TV turned around, I'm going to disconnect some of the stuff so we don't get it in the way. So go ahead and disconnect everything, and we're going to open up this mount. So this is a Mounting Dream tilting TV wall mount. It has a model MD2268LK. Just your basic tilt mount. They have two little brackets that go on the TV. We have the two wall plates and the extension, the piece that goes in the middle that kind of holds them together. Again, this is good for a bigger TV. This TV doesn't need it because it's a small pattern. You can see that this piece alone would help, but it's good. This kind of mount is good for when the studs are, they're not aligned perfectly and you need, one of the studs might be over here and one might be over here. So it'll be good. We'll connect it together and then we'll put this on the wall. So then we got some bolts here, the different bolts for the different TVs. We're going to be using the long M8 bolts there. That they pack these longer ones now because all these Samsung TVs have these deep holes. Then in this one we have some screws, washers. They have the Allen wrench for the tilt knock mechanism. Couple screws here to put the mount together. So first things first on any TV install, what we're going to do is go ahead and put these brackets on the TV. So we'll do that now. And with this Mounting Dream one here, it has these hooks on the top. The pull ropes are always at the bottom because that's what keeps the bottom in. The mount here connects on the top there, and you have to make sure that you can access this Allen bolt here, the Allen key. So that means that this one is the left one because you got to access it from this side, from outside. So that would be the left one, and then this one has the Allen bolt on the right side. So that's how you know which is left and right. And we're going to find a good spot in the middle here. For this TV, it doesn't really matter exactly where you have it. You could have it a little higher, a little lower. Sometimes things on the wall dictate what would be best. But we're just going to go ahead and pop these on, and then we'll mark it on the wall. The Samsung 7100, it has some little top hat looking spacers that go in these holes. I'm going to try to locate them. So customer located these. A lot of times they get thrown away on the Samsung TV because you put the feet on the TV, or you may have it on the stand at first and then decide later you want to mount it. But hold on to the if you can. You can do the install without them. If you don't have these spacers, you can just use other normal spacers. But the benefit of these is these keep the TV mount off of pushing against the back of the TV. So it puts the pressure on the bolt hole as opposed to this plastic. So they're made for that, and that's a good thing. Here we go. And you can see that the M8 bolts that I have are a little long, so they do offer some spacers, various spacers with different depths, different thicknesses that you can add on here. I'm going to try to add on these medium-sized spacers, and if you don't want the distance from the wall to be bigger, you can take the bolt, put the spacer on first, put it through the hole, and then have the spacer on, so that keeps it tighter to the wall. Or you can run the bolt into the mount first, put the spacer on, and then use the spacer that comes with this TV, and then this mount will be a little bit further away, so you have a little bit more distance behind the TV. So you can decide which way you want to go with that. This spacer is a little too thick, so as an alternative, they have these thinner spacers, and if I use two of these spacers here, they're a little bit thinner. This is about twice as thick as that. So I'm going to go ahead and put these guys on. Then I'm going to put that spacer on. And again, remember, this is the right one here. So there we go. Put it on the right side. And then I want to see if it's going to look right here. I think that's a little bit too low because we're not hitting the hole here. It's right in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and try to raise this up probably a couple inches. It's also nice to give yourself a little space up and down to move. So if I say if I put the 5th bolt down here on this Mounting Dream mount, I can go check it out, and it fits the bottom holes right there. So now I have a little wiggle room both ways. So if later the TV is too high or too low, we have a little wiggle. We can take this off and we can lower the bracket or raise the bracket to make that fit on the wall better. Or to, you know, if the customer is not super stoked with the height, you can always make an adjustment. So I'm gonna pop this spacer in this hole there. See, that one on the bottom is tight, goes in further because this TV kind of leans forward. So the back kind of, as it goes up, gets thinner. So that's why you need these spacers, because they keep the bracket more vertical. So we're gonna go ahead and put this through here, the bolt through the hole, into the two spacers, into the main spacer. There we go. So now we have them where we need. We're gonna tighten them up. And you could use the washers here, the washer, but the head of this bolt is so big, it's good enough. It's not gonna cause any issues. So I'm gonna lift up as I tighten, as I normally do, to make sure that we're at the top of the hole there. Okay, tighten this one up as well. A little too high. So we're gonna tighten these up. Tighten the bottom one up. There we go, and we have our right bracket on. We'll do the same thing with this one. All right, we're good to go. So now the bracket is on. The brackets are on the TV. We are going to measure. Now, as I've told people before on these videos, that the measurements that are important are to measure from the bottom of the TV to where this bracket will sit. And if you want an idea of how it sits, if you're going to hold it there, the top of that bracket is right at the bottom of the notch, or at the top of the notch there, and that. So all you really have to do is measure from the bottom of the TV to where that meets this bracket, and it's 18. Looks like 18 and 8. We'll call it 18 inches. 18 inches of 28. So the TV is 28 inches tall. That mark is 18. So from the bottom, 18, 28. So we have to just remember the bottom to the top of that bracket is 18 inches. Just keep that in your mind. And before we go up to the wall, which is the next step, is figuring out where this TV goes on the wall, we are going to put this mount together. And that is where these screws, number 4 here in this mounting dream mount row, these 4 screws right here are to secure the 2 pieces together. You just put them together like that, and you just put these 4 screws in. And as I'm doing this, I'm going to tell you what I do like about this and what I don't like about this. What I do like about this is the boxes are smaller, and for me as a contractor, it makes more space in my truck. The bad thing about mounts like these is you have to put them together, and it's kind of annoying. And on top of that, sometimes they're not level. So the real issue with these are that you have to put these screws in, and then when you're trying to tighten them up, sometimes this is flat and then it goes like downhill. So you have to sit here and manipulate this and make sure it's flat. And to try to put a level on this is more difficult because this piece right here raises up, so I can't put a level on there to find out if it's perfectly level. So it's a little bit annoying. It'd just be nice if they just had skinny boxes with these already made, but we're past that and we're using this mount. So let's go ahead and just use it as is. And again, overall these mounts are pretty good, so I like them. I just want to let you know that you got to put this together, and there you go. All right, so now we put it together. With this mount, luckily it's thin enough that it's not going to be in our way, but if the TV mount needs to go like this because of the way it works on the wall, you know, obviously that's not going to work because this piece is too thick right here and it can't fit underneath that. So you are limited a little bit with where that goes. You can get past it if you needed to. You could have it sit like that. It's not ideal, but it could be done as long as the TV covers it. There's nothing wrong with the mount fitting like that on the wall. So what we're going to try to do is get it right here on the wall. So let's go ahead up there and mark and figure out where center is. So now that we have the mounting dream brackets on that Samsung 7100, we're going to go ahead and throw the wall plate up. And for this client, what we talked about is having it centered between this window and this desk over here, left and right. So I'm just going to measure that distance from the window to the desk. It's 80 inches. So now I'm going to go 40 inches over from the window, and that's my center point. And just make it a light mark if you don't know the exact height you want the TV at, but there's my mark, 40 inches over. As far as the height goes, 28 inches. So what I do is I take 28 inches from my thumb to the bottom of the tape, and I eyeball where I think that would look good. Because a lot of people will just throw like a template on the wall, or they just guess. But I mean, how do you know where the mount and the TV are gonna be relative to the wall? So you have to know these measurements. So again, we have the TV, we had set 18 inches up as the mount. So if the TV is 28 inches tall, typically what I do as an installer is I kind of put the top at about 6 feet or so. So I like that for a nice viewing area behind us, which is a seated position, and there's a desk to my right. So we're gonna go about 6 feet in the air, and I'm gonna have the TV sit like this. So the bottom would be at the bottom of this tape measure, 28 is where the top. I'm gonna mark 18 inches. So now I have 18 inches marked left and right, and I have my center mark right there. Those two marks are basically the main things that you need in order to put the bracket on the wall here. Now we need to find out where the studs are, and we're good. So we're gonna use a stud finder here. There's our center point, so we kind of work left to right or right to left here. So we have a pretty good beat there. I think that's a good idea that there's a stud there. There's a good chance that there's a stud there. I'll double check it. Yeah, so that's the center of a stud right there. I mark it with an F below that line because the mount's gonna go below that line right there, okay? So normally it's 16 inches left or right, so there's probably one here, probably one here. For this bracket, it's big enough that we could hit 2, so let's go ahead and mark the 1. If it's in the center here and there's one left of center, then we need one right of center. So if the TV's gonna hang center here, we're gonna need one on the right side. So I'm gonna find the stud on the right. So these two studs are closer than 16 inches, just so you know. So we may run into an issue with that when we try to install. But as of now, that's my 2 marks. So we'll assume those are the 2 studs. So there's our center mark there. There's the top of the mount as we measured. And then we have the 2 studs. I just wanted to get a little better angle on the camera so you guys could see. Made our marks up and down. Hope you can see all that. Now we want to put the bracket up and use the center on the center mark here. The top of the mount is on those lines. We're gonna put this up. This becomes a little more tricky because as I said before, this mounting dream mount makes it a little difficult for us to level it because it has a little, it protrudes at the top, makes it a little taller, and therefore the level is a little bit more difficult. It's at the right height we wanted. And we're gonna go ahead and mark the top 2 here. We can mark the bottom 2 as well, but I'm gonna drill the top 2 and then put the mount up, and then I'm gonna re-drill the bottom one second. So we have our 2 marks, there we go. Sometimes I make a little pattern around the mount, so if I have to add, like in this instance, I need to add a power outlet for them to run the Roku and the TV, so we're gonna add a little perimeter around that. So now we have the 4 marks, and we have kind of an outline of where the mount will go. So now that we have this, I'm gonna go ahead and drill these in. So that was definitely a stud there, and we're gonna see about this one. So that's a stud as well, so we're 2 for 2 on that, and really nothing else matters. That's all that matters for this. We got 2 studs that will work. They're on each side of center. We will put the mount up like so. So we'll get a bolt here and a bolt here, and then we'll get the bottom one. And it's fairly centered, but we'll still be able to center the TV by counterbalancing it back the other way a little. So let's go ahead and get our tool to put this up. If you've seen my videos before, you know I have a hexagonal adapter that goes into a socket, and then that socket goes on my drill. And we are going to take one of these bolts, throw a washer on. I'll grab both of them, get them ready, okay? So we have bolt washer, throw the mount up. We're gonna put this bolt through the hole there, and that is gonna be our first one that we're gonna drill in. So you don't have to drill it all the way in. You drill it about 90%. I just drill it enough that I can still manipulate this side a little. So now we're gonna get this one about 90% in, and then I'm gonna hand tighten both of them when it's perfectly level. All right, that's a little less than 90%, that's okay. So now, again, we can't see exactly where the mount is level, but this piece, as long as that's level, will be close enough with the TV. I can always manipulate that a little. So I'm gonna raise this side up to make sure it's level. Okay, so now the mount says that it's perfectly level right there, so I'm gonna tighten these up. A little crazy. All right, so they're on solid. It says it's level. Now that those are on so solid, we can go ahead and screw, use the drill and drill into the bottom two and then put those bolts in. There you go. And the bottom two bolts, you can kind of just send in all the way. You don't have to over tighten them to an extreme because you can break the heads off these bolts if you're crazy. These drills are strong. Tighten them. You'll see the drywall move slightly once you know it's tight, so there you go. So before we hang the TV, I was thinking about this. I need to add a power outlet to this install, and though I wasn't going to make that part of the video, I'm going to go ahead and just let it roll and let you guys see how I add a power outlet. We have two power outlets, one on that side, one on this side. This one's slightly closer, and that one is also on a light switch. So we're gonna choose this one, and we're gonna just run over and up and just get it inside the perimeter of the TV. All we need to do is get a power outlet over one bay and up. So I'm gonna show you how I drill over, get it up one bay, and get it inside this. So we're just gonna add a power outlet right about here, and then we'll go to hang the TV. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to add a box to this side. We're going to add a low voltage box. So if you ever wants to add wires, we can always have this box. It'll be a blank plate. Really what we're going to do is we're going to avoid having to cut drywall by drilling through the stud this way. We'll have the wire come around and go up to the power outlet. We could just cut the drywall and do it that way, but in order to save time and money for the customer, we're just going to go ahead and I'll show you the way that we do it just to make it easy. You can do this at your home too. The end result is you have a new blank cover plate on there. Not a big deal. There's blank cover plates all over the house, but you can do it by repairing the drywall if you want, and I can show you in a different video how to do that. Just double checking there because it sounded like there might be a fire block here, but instead it was just a drywall break. This is a 4-foot mark, so there's normally a drywall break where the drywall is dense. It's more dense because they'll put mud on that, and so it'll ring as a stud. But I wanted to make sure by going ahead and just popping in and then angling my knife down that there was not a fire block here. There may be one lower, but we'll get to that when we need. Now I'm going to go ahead and just cut this box out like we had wanted to in the beginning. So now we can check with the fish tape to see if it's straight. If we have no fire block there, we'll go ahead and check down. And there is no fire block there, so we will go ahead and just get it all the way. Find that fish tape inside. Okay, pull it out, and then we can send it through this way. But first we'll just pull that electrical up the wall. Alright, so we have the power outlet up there. Now what's left is this box here. Now, do you want to fix the drywall or do you want to just put a blank cover plate on there? That's your call. Putting a little low voltage box and a blank cover plate for us is much easier. Let's do that real quick. Alright, so there you go. We added the power outlet. Use the cover plate to make that a little quicker. Again, you can fix the drywall, texture it, do all that, paint it. Most people will just take that cover plate there. So power outlet, you do have an access point later if you want to run an HDMI cord up and down. You could just pop a hole here and run an HDMI cord down to that hole. And now all we have left is to put this Samsung 7100 on this nice Mounting Dreams mount. So let's do that. So we're going to go ahead and throw this mount up. Pretty straightforward, and as you can see, those brackets clip onto the top of the mount there, and now we can tighten the tilting knobs if needed, and we'll give you a look at what this looks like from afar. So the TV's tilted forward a little bit, but it looks pretty good. And we'll square it up and turn it on, and we'll check out this the 7100 by Samsung. But that Mounting Dream mount looks great. At the bottom, you can just see here, there's these little clips. These little clips release the bottom, so you pull those down, and that actually, when you pull those two, it actually lets the bottom of the mount kick in all the way. So that's good that we did that now. And that just secures the bottom of the mount so it can't go anywhere. So now that mount is completely secure. I'm gonna go ahead and kick the top up and tighten that up so it's nice and flat, and then we'll fire this guy up. Alright, so we got that Samsung 55-inch 7100 mounted on the Mounting Dream tilt mount. It looks awesome. I hope you like this video. Why don't you pound that like button. Let us know if you have any questions or comments. And make sure you subscribe to get more videos like this. And just remember, when you're watching these videos, you can be the installer.